Have you decided who's going to start? All right, so please do. Good afternoon. Please give us your name and so forth.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carol Sanders. I'm a member of Jewish Voice for Peace, and I co-authored the legal memoranda in opposition to this bill on the successive variants of AB 2844. The memoranda were written on behalf of a broad coalition of national and local civil rights organizations and groups. I wish I could take some time out of my precious 2.5 minutes to talk about how the characterization of what BDS is so distorted. But I will leave that to another time, or perhaps questions and answers. The Supreme Court has recognized that boycotts for social justice are political speech, and that they must be accorded the highest form of First Amendment protection. The Assembly Judiciary Committee warned of the, quote, insurmountable constitutional problems of previous versions of the bill that penalized boycotts of Israel. This latest version still targets those who boycott Israel and subjects them to heightened state scrutiny. But now it tries to make it appear that only, quote, discriminatory conduct is punished. It does this by inserting into existing anti-discrimination law the implication that activists for Palestinian rights discriminate against Jews under the, quote, pretext of a constitutionally protected boycott of Israel. What this does is profile a class of people disfavored because of their political viewpoint, and codifies a bigoted stereotype against them, that they are anti-Semitic. An analogy might be if you had before you a bill that said, homosexual teachers are protected against termination unless teaching is a pretext for predatory conduct. Existing civil rights law already prohibits discrimination against Jews or any other protected class, and already imposes a public contract ban against those who discriminate. What AB 2844 does, it unconstitutionally singles out those who boycott Israel as uniquely suspect for such unlawful conduct. AB 2844 also creates a crime for perjury, a felony, based on standards that you'll see from our memorandum are staggeringly vague. It also once again makes the provisions applicable not only to for-profit companies, but to any, quote, private entity. This would include the many churches, unions, universities, and investors who support boycott or divestment initiatives. We're asking you to please do the right thing and vote no on AB 2844. Please encourage and even join the debate where it belongs, in the public forum, instead of being pulled into a partisan plan to silence one side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've got about 2.5 minutes left.
Good afternoon. I'm Michaela Benizzi. I was born in Berkeley and raised by a loving Jewish community there. I attended Jewish school for the majority of my education. I've studied Hebrew. I've been to Israel several times, mostly to visit my grandparents who live there in Tel Aviv. Now I'm a junior at Stanford University, where I study history with a focus on the Middle East. I've also been an active participant in Stanford Students for Justice in Palestine, and I believe that boycott and divestment campaigns can be effective and peaceful ways to pressure Israel to discontinue its daily human rights violations. In fact, I'm part of this movement because I'm Jewish, because of the Jewish values that my community taught me. At my brother's bar mitzvah, he chanted, "Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof," justice, justice, you shall pursue. When I went to the West Bank and I saw the daily violence of Palestinian life there, The constant fear of detention and abuse by the occupying forces, the restricted access to rights we consider basic, like affordable water, travel, and even the right to free political discourse. The commandment, tzedek tzedek tirdof, kept echoing through my thoughts. This bill, which would stifle legitimate political opinions, makes me wonder if the free speech that I enjoy as an American is more fragile than I knew. I care about my cousins in the Israeli military and their Palestinian neighbors. Because of my identity, anti-Semitism is a real issue for me. It's a real thing I care about, but I have hardly ever encountered it on a college campus. It exists. There have been maybe one or two things, but in no way does that characterize my experience as a Jew at a school where the majority of students voted to divest from Israel's occupation just a few years ago. So there's a UC Berkeley survey that reflects what I'm saying, which included the voices of more than 6,000 Jews on campus. And it shows that Jews actually feel at least as comfortable on campus as other religious groups, and oftentimes more comfortable on campus. So the truth is that most of the discrimination I've faced on this issue actually comes from pressures such as AB 2844 that aim to silence political dissidents, targeting free speech rights of groups largely supported by people of color, groups I'm honored to be involved with, by calling it anti-Semitic. I'm about done. If we really care about...
We've already gone over the allotted time, so appreciate what you have to say. I am going to give the gentleman behind you about 30 to 45 seconds.
I'm just going to only introduce myself and be available for questions so she can finish.
Oh, very good. Well, quickly if you could, because
Okay,
we're now well over the 6 minutes.
If we really care about fighting anti-Semitism, we can't dilute it with this thinly veiled attempt to end, in one strike, a nonviolent strategy that could actually help change the status quo in Israel. For the sake of tzedek, please vote no on AB 2844. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony. Any other witnesses in opposition? If you'd please step.
I'll just introduce myself and say I'm available for questions. I'm
Very
David
good.
Mandel, also a co-author of the memos, an attorney, also an Israeli citizen and an American Jew who's concerned about these bills.
Thank you, sir. That will be our first additional witness in opposition. Those in opposition, if you'd please step up and give your name, affiliation, and obviously you're opposed to the bill. So please.
I'm Marcy Winograd, member of Jewish Voice for Peace. I also represent a delegation that went to Assemblyman Richard Bloom's office, met with him, implored him to reject and withdraw this killing
enough.
legislation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Name, affiliation, and opposition, please.
My name is Ellen Brahms. I'm Jewish. I'm a lifelong social activist. I was a freedom rider in 1961, and I oppose this bill.
Thank you, ma'am.
I am Jane Casa. I represent the Palestine Action Group in Palestinian Rights Action Group in Chico, California, and I strongly oppose this bill. Thank you.
I'm Catherine Webster. I'm from Chico, California. I speak on behalf of the Chico Peace and Justice Center. I oppose this bill.
Thank you, ma'am.
Marian Evans from Paradise, California, and I strongly oppose this bill. Palestine Action Group.
Thank you.
Maggie Coulter, I'm a graduate of UC. I'm a member of the ACLU. On behalf of the Sacramento Regional Coalition for Palestinian Rights and Friends of Sabeel, which is a Christian voice for Palestine and an advocate of free speech, please vote against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana L. Neal on behalf of the Council on American Islamic Relations, California, in opposition to this bill.
Thank you.
Eddie Sabo, a UC Davis graduate and a representative of Students for Justice in Palestine at UC Davis, and a Palestinian, and I oppose this bill vehemently.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lena Basuni. I'm a student at UC Berkeley, and I oppose this bill.
Thank you.
I'm the Reverend Laurie Jones, an ordained interfaith minister, member of Women's International League of Peace and Freedom, a community college student in multicultural studies, and a Unitarian Universalist for justice in the Middle East. I vehemently oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Don Knutson. I'm a longtime member of the 101-year-old Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and I strongly oppose this measure. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ellen Schwartz. I'm an American Jew and a member of the aforementioned Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, and we strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Patricia Doherty with No Way to Treat a Child campaign of the Defense for Children International Palestine Division, highlighting the treatment of Palestinian children under Israeli military detention. We oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Kathy Hackett, and I am a member of the Unitarian Universalist Justice for the Middle East, and we oppose the bill.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Paul Leuenberger, and I represent the Veterans for Peace, Chapters 87 in Sacramento, and I strongly advise you to please vote against this bill.
Thank you, sir.
Israel has received...
Thank you, sir. That's enough. Thank you, sir. Name, affiliation, position on the bill.
Good afternoon. My name's Jim Hard. I'm from Sacramento, California, and I'm a member of Veterans for Peace and Sacramento chapter.
Thank you, sir. And you're opposed?
And I oppose the bill.
Figured as much. Thank you.
I'm Carl Jensch. I'm a voter, and I'm an advocate for civil rights. I think that you will find that this bill will be found unconstitutional.
You're opposed to the bill. Thank you, sir.
I'm Marcelo Bade, a former Davis grad, and also for SJP, and also Palestinian, and I oppose this bill.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Ann Polifka. I'm a member of the Chico Peace and Justice Center on the board, and I do oppose this bill. Hope you vote against it.
Thank you.
Dave Kadlachek. I am speaking on behalf of the California Peace and Freedom Party's statewide legislative committee, and I refer to our letter of opposition sent last week.
Thank you, sir.
Nancy Fleischer, Sacramento Jewish Voice for Peace, in opposition to the bill.
Thank you.
Brigitte Jensch, UC grad, and advocate for Sacramento Area Peace Action, a 30-year-old peace and justice organization that has written letters in opposition to this, to various versions of this bill.
Thank you very much. And please continue to step on forward here.
I'm Gloria Fern, Israel-Palestine Task Force of California, Nevada United Methodist Church, delegate to the California, Nevada UMC Annual Conference, and member of the board of San Joaquin Peace and Justice Network. I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Picking. I'm a voter and a concerned citizen, and I support human rights, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you.
My name is Peter Norton. I'm a community member and a student and a Palestinian Christian, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you very much. Other witnesses in opposition? Why don't you head on over closer so that we can move through this list?
I'm Sandra O'Neill. I'm from Chico, California. I'm a member of the Chico Peace and Justice and also the Palestine Action Group, and I vehemently oppose this bill on human rights.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Emily Alma. I'm a member of Chico Jews for Justice for Palestine, Israel, and I strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you very much.
My name is Maureen Smith. I'm a veteran of BDS South Africa and chair of the Peace and Freedom Party in Santa Cruz County. We strongly oppose this bill.
Thank you very much.
Michael Smith, Santa Cruz County, and like my wife, I very strongly oppose the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Kevin Baker for the American Civil Liberties Union, with appreciation for the author and supporters, and for that the way the bill has been narrowed, we nevertheless believe there are constitutional concerns as reflected in the letter that we submitted very late with apologies. Thank you.
It's quite all right. We have it, and thank you for your interest and effort. Are there any other witnesses in opposition? All right, let's bring it back to the committee and open it up. Senator Monning.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I want to just start by acknowledging the civil engagement that I've observed. I'm sorry I wasn't here for the very beginning of the proceedings. And I want to start with a brief statement.
I just want to apologize and interrupt for just a moment. I have to excuse myself to present the bill, and I'm unhappy that that's the case, but it's the last bill up, and so I have to leave. There's nothing to this other than the need to be there, and I apologize, and I will hand the gavel over to my co-chair, my vice chair rather, and I will be back as soon as I can. My apologies to all of you.
Thank you. Good luck. Well, I do want to just start with a brief statement and then a question. This issue is deeply personal to everybody that's involved, and personal to colleagues and friends for whom I have deep respect for in their work, in their advocacy. My own personal history does not go as deep as many of the people in this room. I have worked in Israel, in the West Bank, in Jordan, Egypt, and have worked with Israeli and Palestinian students who, in many circumstances, were meeting for the first time with the other at the UN Peace University in Amman, Jordan, where the first week of engagement was, I would say, marked by tremendous mistrust and perceptions of the other as the enemy. And after 2 or 3 weeks of working together, friendships that have endured to this day that started 15, 20 years ago. I drew from those experiences a lesson of the possibility of humans who are engaged in what's often described as intractable conflict to resolve those conflicts. The Middle East is viewed as perhaps one of the most intractable conflicts in the world, although South Africa had an intractable conflict. Northern Ireland had an intractable conflict that spanned decades and centuries. What those two very different intractable conflicts had in common is that they ended not on a battlefield, but at a table of negotiation. Through mediation and negotiation, peace agreements were achieved. I may be an optimist, but I believe through the will of people, we can achieve a similar peace at some day in the Middle East. This bill is very specific, and it's gone through different iterations, and it's gone through a bill that's been very specific in focusing on trying to limit or ban a boycott of the state of Israel, to a bill that was amended to not even reference Israel, but to talk about relations with any foreign nation, to one that now before us tries to use protected rights that are enforced in California and the United States of anti-discrimination laws, and to find a path to apply those to people that would choose to engage in a boycott, in First Amendment speech, to address concerns, and I think ultimately in seeking the promotion of dialogue. We've seen the use of boycotts as far back as Gandhi in South Africa, the Birmingham bus boycott, farm worker boycotts, which I worked with. The commonality of those very different uses of boycott, of economic power as political voice, were that they were all protected, those in this country, by the First Amendment. I've defended those who have been thrown in jail on picket lines for alleged violations that we felt were violations protected by the First Amendment. What we learned is that the courts do have the right to limit First Amendment rights. It's not an absolute right, but we have a judicial system both in the state and federally that is better equipped, in my view, to limit any speech rights balanced against safety and security than is the legislature to issue some blanket prescription that seeks to, in all circumstances, create statutory language of what is legal or not legal in the exercise of First Amendment rights. Those who are promoting this legislation have equated in some of the versions that to participate in the BDS movement or in a boycott is tantamount, equals anti-Semitic conduct. It's understandable how those who fear for the future, the fate, and the security of Israel could make that connection. It is not a big leap. On the other hand, there are Israeli citizens today who are also part of an effort that seeks to promote dialogue and peace through negotiation and through the exercise of protected rights. I don't believe the state of California should be weighing in to dictate with respect to the exercise of a First Amendment right as directed to a sovereign nation, should create a separate standard than our courts would hold to anybody exercising those same First Amendment rights. There are a number of elements within the bill that I think also fail to pass constitutional muster and would end up in our courts. One of the problems that I see in this bill is that it would allow a complaint to be lodged with the Attorney General by anyone who believes a company is engaging in illegal boycott activity as defined for stating under penalty of perjury that that company has not engaged in a violation of the certain protected rights protected through FEHA or EEOC. Who would be the one to investigate those allegations? Another, I think, defect in the bill talks about those who have complied with these provisions of attesting under penalty of perjury, that they have essentially never engaged in illegal conduct under these protected rights. So does that go back 5 years, 10 years, 100 years? How about a company that may have had origins during the time of slavery? Will they be ineligible to contract with the state of California, or will somebody have to commit perjury to say that company has never engaged in a violation of these protected rights? I believe we heard a witness from the ACLU who referenced a letter that was filed by the ACLU in response to the most recent set of amendments, and I believe that letter sets out a very good legal analysis of the defects. But ultimately, I don't think this bill is about finding the correct language to try to direct or limit rights. The bigger problem we face, and I think what brings this to our committee, it's the challenge of those engaging in their exercise of First Amendments, largely on our college campuses, but not exclusively on our college campuses, and concerns of that zeal and that enthusiasm, that passion spilling over in a manner that does vilify individuals as people. I joined a resolution a few years ago as an assembly member that I believed at the time of supporting it sought to condemn acts of anti-Semitism on our campuses. This bill does not seek to condemn acts of anti-Semitism. This bill seeks to limit the exercise of First Amendment rights. I would hope that the dialogue today around this bill, which I will not be able to support, but whatever the fate of this bill and whatever further amendments it might go through if it makes it out of this committee, I think we all need to use the passion that's been generated in support and opposition to recommit in our communities and on our campuses, that we are best equipped to set the example of principled and respectful engagement between Palestinians and Israelis, between Jews and Muslims and Christians and non-believers. We are in a position, through the privilege we have in this country of protected rights, to advance a principled view of what peace might look like in the Middle East, not to direct or interfere with that, but to stand in support of a process. So with that, I would like to just conclude with a question to the opposition, if I might. I would like to ask, I think, Mr. Mendel, is there anything in the principles of the BDS movement that stands in opposition to supporting a negotiated or mediated peace agreement in the Middle East?
Thank you, Senator Monning, and members of the committee. The shorter answer is no, absolutely not. But I want to elaborate on two very important points regarding your question. One is that what you referred to as the BDS movement, and what we've heard with a lot of mischaracterization referred to as the BDS movement. The movement that I'm involved in is a movement for justice, for liberation, for freedom, and eventually for peace and security for Israeli Jews and Palestinians alike. And that ultimately has to come through a negotiated settlement. BDS, boycotts and divestments, is not a movement. It's a set of tools that people use in different ways, and some people use them and have different disagreements about how to use them in order to pursue those goals. It's a civil rights movement. It's based on, it's a rights-based demand for equality for Palestinians who are living in Israel, for the rights of Palestinian refugees, and for an end to the Israeli occupation, which has become so oppressive and violent, and it in no way precludes any kind of the kind of negotiated settlement that eventually will have to come. It doesn't take a position, for instance, on whether there should be one state or two states. It doesn't, contrary to what you often hear, it does not call for the elimination of Israel, the replacement of Israel. It doesn't deal with that. It says that whatever solution is eventually arrived at between the parties, it has to be based on equality and human rights and international law for all. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chair, just a final comment. I will not be supporting the bill today. I do encourage continued principled engagement, and I will be the first to stand up against any reports on our campuses and in our communities of any explicit anti-Semitic conduct or actions, as well as conduct or actions that target those in the exercise of their First Amendment rights. I've been troubled to see the digression of those engagements, and it indeed, unfortunately, goes both ways. There are posters being put up on our campuses that name faculty members and students who support the BDS movement, and it's kind of a character poster that condemns them as being Jew haters, and that does not move the conversation forward. And we need to, all of us, be vigilant in condemning on any side of this debate, who seek to vilify the other as individuals based on their religion, based on their national identity, and elevate this debate to one of principled engagement in the promotion of peace through dialogue. And with that, Mr. Chair, I thank you for the opportunity.
Other colleagues wish to speak on this matter? Any questions? Senator Wieckowski.
I guess I had a question on the declaration or penalty of perjury and the potential felony or felony prosecution you could have, how that will have a chill on robust First Amendment right. I mean, I understand on the university, I believe you said in your opening statement that there was some unnecessary debate that is negatively affecting campus climate. And I can understand that people are, I was excitable when I was in university and people say some things, but I think that's what we expect on a university campus. And I'm worried about this layer that we've put into the bill, as my colleague more eloquently spoke, that people could be prosecuted for a felony for submitting a bid that, once upon a time their company was engaged in discriminatory practices.
Well, let me respond by saying that I don't read the bill as having an unlimited look-back period, but that's certainly something that we can look at in terms of the language in the bill. I don't think my interpretation would characterize it as unlimited. In terms of enforcement, this is the same, and we are talking about anti-discrimination language here, and this is the same kind of enforcement that is available to the Attorney General for any type of anti-discrimination law. So I see it as no different, and I think the language is appropriate.
But I think I'm concerned because you tie it to the speech. I mean, if you engage in discriminatory activities in the state of California, you can be prosecuted. But here, it seems like the bill ties it to actual speech that you may make.
It is very clearly, I think, discriminatory conduct in furtherance of boycott or other activities, but it has to be tied to discriminatory conduct as defined in either FEHA or the UNRU Act.
May I respond to that, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
It's your choice.
Yes, oh, okay. There are several other laws in California that require people to certify under penalty of perjury that they don't discriminate, but they're all very, very specific in terms and very totally fact-based in terms of provision of apparel, laundry services, for instance, in one bill. I don't remember the exact citation, and there are several others. But this is a first here that would require a declaration under penalty of perjury that one is taking some act for a certain motive and not for a different motive. And this is, I think, is really unprecedented, would require the Attorney General, who would probably be barraged with complaints about people boycotting for the wrong reasons, to make a determination, to act as some kind of a thought police and determine, why is this person boycotting? Is it because they're also discriminating or not? And what is their real motive? And I think this is a very dangerous stretch of government to try to determine whether people have a right to contract based on their motive for taking certain positions that are, we all agree now, protected by the First Amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would like to give the author another crack. I'm reading on page 4, where on line 12, when we talked about somebody engaging, an entity engaging in discriminatory actions against individuals under the pretext of exercising First Amendment rights. Now, I mean, we're all free speechers. I mean, it seems to me that you would want to write that in the exact opposite form, that people should engage in free speech. It shouldn't be under the pretext of exercising your free speech rights. I mean, it seems when I read that, I'm hit with this chilling effect that, oh my God, somebody may think I'm discriminating, so I better shut up because it's the audience that I'm at the college campus or at the temple is not going to like what I'm saying. And that is not what we want to do in the country. I mean, this young student, am I reading that wrong?
I think you are. I think that we're talking about discriminatory activity. And, discriminatory activity is not typically speech, it is action. And that's the difference. Let me give you some examples of some of the things that have taken place on our college campuses here in California. At UCLA, an undergraduate student named Lauren Rogers was attacked by supporters of the BDS movement when she was sued by them. An action, this is a lawsuit, in an action before the UCLA Student Judicial Board, claiming that when she voted against a pro-BDS resolution as a member of student government, she had a conflict of interest because she had gone on a trip to Israel paid for by a Jewish organization. Avi Oved, who's a student regent at UCLA, was attacked by pro-BDS supporters during his effort to be confirmed by the Board of Regents simply because of his efforts in support of Israel's right to exist. And more recently, and in an ongoing case, the president of the UCLA Graduate Students Association, Milan Chatterjee, had to defend himself and continues to defend himself from being removed from office based on charges by pro-BDS supporters because he and his cabinet took a position to be neutral on the BDS issue with which the pro-BDS supporters disagreed. These are the kind of activities that are taking place on our college campuses. They are actions, and they are in furtherance of what is intended to be, or as an end goal, boycott activity. The BDS movement is rooted in a discriminatory desire to eliminate the state of Israel as a homeland for the Jewish people. This is a fact. We can go back to the initial statements that were made by Omar Barghouti and other founders of the BDS movement. They are very specific about the elimination of Israel. Now, you can talk to other folks, and we hear from other folks who are supporters of the BDS movement who will wrap themselves around language of peace, but the peace that they seek is one that excludes a Jewish state as we currently know it. And when you have the conversations with them and parse it down, what their desire is, and this is in response to some of the other comments that were brought up, is that they seek the end of the state of Israel as we know it. They seek a majority Palestinian state. That is very, very different from simply negotiating for peace between two countries, between two peoples, which, Senator Manning, you and I are in complete agreement on. Negotiations and finding a way to peace is what we should seek. But if that peace means the destruction of an internationally recognized state, a state that was chartered under the United Nations, a state that has existed for decades now, that's not a peaceful solution.
Senator Leno.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have, as the author knows, had some concerns with earlier iterations of this bill. Through its evolution, I'm as pleased with this version as I have been with, more pleased than I have been with any previous versions. I think it would be beneficial to the debate that we're having that we not speak in absolute terms, to say that they seek the destruction of the state of Israel, that they have this agenda. The witnesses we have who are opposing this bill today, who are supportive of BDS, and I would agree, I don't think of it as a movement. I think of it as non-violent opportunities to express in potentially as effective a way disagreement with Israel's current leadership and policies, but not necessarily with Israel or its existence. So I think it's beneficial we don't use absolute terms and make definitive statements that suggest it's a monolithic voice and there's no variation to it. In fact, the folks here today in opposition to the bill are clearly not in support of the destruction of the state of Israel. So with that said, I'd like to explain why I will be supporting the bill today. Unlike other versions of the bill, I believe, as I read it, and I don't think that the bill requires anyone to prove a motive or to have to determine, or for anyone to determine motives. And I'll just give an example. Let's say there is a business owner, and let's imagine this business owner as Jewish, who has done business with the state of Israel for many decades, and is supportive of Israel, or has been supportive over the years, and because of recent turn of events in Israel, is very displeased and wants to express that displeasure and decides his or her company is not going to do business with Israel anymore, but wants to continue to contract with the state of California. This bill requires that business owner to certify that they comply with the UNRU Act and the Fair Employment and Housing Act. No motive is involved. It just has to state, we do not discriminate on race, creed, color, religion, nation of origin, sexual orientation, sexual gender identity, disability, and all the other protected categories in UNRU and in FEHA. So it's just a statement of fact. And as I read the bill, that company can proceed to use its First Amendment right to boycott Israel. It's just about complying with the non-discrimination laws of California. So I think that this bill, unlike earlier versions, strikes a delicate balance. First Amendment right protected, but there'll be no contracting in the state of California unless you comply with our non-discrimination statutes. And whether or not someone is in agreement or supportive of the memorandum of understanding that we signed with Israel in 2015, those MOUs were signed. I think it would be inconsistent for the state of California, given that we are promoting mutual collaboration in renewable energy and biomedicine and in technology, water policy, cybersecurity. It would be inconsistent for us to contract using state taxpayer dollars to contract with those who are in fact working against the very foundational reasons for the MOUs. So I think it is a consistent policy that the bill pursues, protects the First Amendment right, which I certainly would want to protect, of anyone's right to express a disagreement through a boycott, as long as it is clearly not through a discriminatory practice against Jews or any other religion or any other protected class. So for all those reasons, I will be supporting it. Some of the language in the bill on first reading and on subsequent readings, some of that pretext language didn't settle all that well with me. I understand why you think it needs to be in the bill. I'm not suggesting, at least at this point, I'd be interested to hear what the chair has to say, any particular amendments. But I think the direction, the construct of the bill now is in a way that I can support. And so I appreciate your working with the committee to get it to its current form.
Thank you, Senator. And I should point out that there are a number of technical amendments that we have discussed with your staff. We're prepared to include those in the next version of the bill, should the bill move forward today. And
I'm glad to hear that.
Not personally familiar with all of those technical amendments. They may or may not cover some of the issues that yourself and Senator Monning have expressed concerns about.
May I address the case of the hypothetical
I'm sorry.
business person?
I'm the chair.
Okay.
Senator Hertzberg, any comments? You're good? Okay. I'm Gentile, born in the Netherlands, so I'm an immigrant. Yeah, it's on. And maybe it was because I was a partner in Balzer, Horowitz, Frank, and Wakeling that I sort of developed an interest in reading about Western states Jewish history. And that's what I read. Right now I'm reading Max de Mont's book on the Jews in America. It's just a great read. So, so I appreciate the history of Zionism, and I appreciate what's occurred. I'm struggling, colleagues, with the concern about discrimination. And discrimination from the discussion today seems to be from what factors you're using to look at the situation, and they could be multiple factors. So this is a pretty weighty discussion, very serious, and it spills over in other areas as well. We're discussing boycotts of states. We're discussing Christian universities having to make major modifications for discrimination of LGBT. I mean, we're talking pretty serious stuff, pretty serious, weighty matters in this Senate. It's my style as a chair to be the last one to speak as opposed to the first one. Colleagues, I have a sense that Senator Jackson, Chair Jackson, really wanted to weigh in on this matter, but we should get some resolution. I see this from the factors that I'm looking from, and so I think that's as deep as I want to get on this discussion. I have no questions, but would someone like to make a motion? We have a motion. Any further discussion? Madam, a closing statement from the author. I apologize. Thank you for coaching me along. Assemblyman Bloom, please.
Well, I think we've had quite a robust discussion on the issues surrounding this bill. I want to say that I agree with both Senators Monning and Leno about the need for nonviolent dialogue, negotiation, and discussion. I think that is extremely important. And within the BDS movement, we certainly find that there is a sharing of ideas and discussion, but there are places also where that discussion crosses a line, and that's what this bill is intended to address. So I think taking that into consideration, I ask respectfully for your aye vote.
Thank you. And at this time, I believe it's without amendments, but they will be provided later. Okay. They may amend later. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to Senate Appropriations. Jackson. Morlock.
Aye.
Morlock, aye. Anderson. Aye. Anderson, aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hertzberg, aye. Leno. Aye. Leno, aye. Monning. No. Monning, no. Wojciechowski.
It passes 4-1. We'll keep the roll open. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. I really appreciate it. The next item is AB 2878, item 49. We're going to do another bill. Oh, okay. Oh, you want to wait? Okay, I apologize. Then do we have someone who's ready to speak?